C. John, thanks for being here.
Oh, of course. Love this.
Of course. You go live every Monday at 9:30, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So if you're watching this and you have any interest, John goes live every Monday at 9:30 a.m. Arizona time, and that's the place to go if you really want, the expert secrets on the Lord Googlies. I've seen your rapid fire Q&A, man. It's unbelievable, like how much content you cover.
Well, we get like probably 30 or 40 questions each time that we're going live, and sometimes I'll have like 45 minutes, and the last 10 minutes, I'm like, yeah, we're coming up on the last 10 minutes. Like, I'm like, oh god.
Anyway, let's try that. So we're coming up on the last 10 minutes.
Oh, hey Electronar, yo.
Electronar saying, yo.
Electronar, I mispronounced that. I am horrible at this.
I'm sure I mispronounced it too. Yeah, what up, Electronar? Thanks for being here.
Do you have a question? You can ask me anything.
Marco says, hey, awesome people.
Hey, what up, Marco? Marco and I recently talked, and we did a little like kind of individual coaching session. I think it was like yesterday or the day before. And so, Marco, I hope everything's going well now and getting those conversion actions all set up and everything, and wish you all the best luck and success. Jawad, we're doing great. Yes, thank you.
You're doing great, Jawad.
Yeah.
We're going live, just so y'all know, we're going live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. YouTube is where all of this lives. And so I've got a link in the description if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. John and I shoot a video every single day. We try to go live at least once a week. I had a hard time going live because I've got other commitments now. But when we can do it, we're going to be going live on Fridays. But it'll be something of an ad hoc sort of surprise.
Hey.
But we're here to answer your questions. So here's what I want from you all is nothing's off limits. If it's marketing related, lob it over the fence. Jawad said, do you have any experience with Google Ad Grants account? Any strategies here? Yeah, don't do them. Well, let me back up. I don't mean to be petulant. As an agency, they're a pain in the hindquarters. What is it, John? You can't have CPCs over $2. You have to have a 5% CTR. Like, there's all these rules that make it almost impossible to
Can't run e-com.
Yeah, you can't. So, I mean, it's free $10,000, and that's nice to have. But there's just a lot of restrictions. I don't know if you're an agency, that's not where I'd hang my hat at all. If you're a nonprofit, then get as much as you can, but CPC's under $2. I mean, how often does that happen for, high quality?
I got a couple strategies I could share.
Okay.
So since you have to have an over 5% click-through rate, the first thing I would do is absolutely run a brand campaign. Because a brand campaign is going to artificially raise up your click-through rate to like 14, 15, sometimes 20% if you have a nonprofit that is recognizable and has some brand traffic. Because what's nice about that is if you have a 15% on your brand, you can have a 1% in your exploratory campaigns that you're looking to actually achieve. This way you can kind of artificially raise up that click-through rate so that you don't just run one campaign and get stuck into like, oh no, I got to get above 2% click-through rate. So when you run brand campaigns, that artificially raises your CTR. And when I say artificial, I mean it's just because you're doing like a sacrificial campaign to boost that so that you can spend, other low CTR on other campaigns. Now to get over the $2 max CPC, run max conversions. Max conversions will actually overbid $2 in your campaigns, even though you have a $2 CPC limit. So when you run manually, it won't let you go over $2. If you run maximize clicks, it usually decreases too much, too low because it favors low quality or low position. Which also hurts your CTR. Running maximize conversions is exactly what it tries to do. It tries to maximize conversion by bidding often and bidding as high as it can. I have had grant accounts going into the $4, $5, and $6 clicks running maximize conversions. So Google breaks its own rule for you and it won't penalize you for it. So run maximize conversions, that'll boost your $2 CPCs.
I love the idea of averaging out your CTR with your brand. That's super sharp.
Yep.
Adewell says, always good to see and hear you guys. Always good to see you. Thanks for being here. I know I'm mispronouncing your name, so forgive me. We want to talk about YouTube, just so y'all know. That's me and John's new favorite topic. But we also want to talk about what you want to talk about. So keep the questions coming. And if we end up with a lull, we'll ask YouTube. We'll talk about YouTube stuff.
Yeah. You said, the situation with me is I have real estate clients who are trying to get leads with grant accounts.
Dude, you know who did this? Remember JC?
Yeah.
Yeah. He he had somebody who had a nonprofit. It was flipping brilliant. He had somebody who had a nonprofit that helped people with something with housing, and they got a Google Grants account, and then they talked to us about trying to run it to generate motivated seller leads.
This is genius.
Yeah, well, it didn't work, but it's,
right. I would say, it's possible. Now, what type of real estate clients are you looking to achieve? Are we just talking about like, seller leads and buyer leads, like people looking to buy a home or people looking to sell a home? Jawad, is that what you're looking for? Because what I would say is, if you're a nonprofit, the housing restriction limitation inside of Google policy might hurt you. But if you're using the buyers and sellers both, I would say it's possible. Run blog content or run ads to blog content that says, how to prepare your house to sell, and then put your CTA in there, like how to prepare your house to sell, how to make sure you get the most amount of money for your house when you sell. Those helpful tips and tricks you could start to generate, because you're not gonna go after like, sell my house. You're just never gonna bid high enough for that to even work. I mean, we ran motivated seller leads campaigns, and you're talking like 60, 80, 120 a click, dollar per click. So grant's never going to get up there.
Grant too, right? If you do anything that's outside the purview of the nonprofit. So
right, and so that's why it's like you're helping people.
Yeah, that sounds like a tall order, but not impossible. Can you use Google Grants funds inside of YouTube?
Yes, I think so.
If you can, then this might be a YouTube play, right?
Let me see here. Yeah, you can.
That's interesting. YouTube.
You can definitely try that. Again, I would still run the narrative though of like helping people, right? Because then you can kind of say like, no, I'm a nonprofit and I'm just here to help people. I don't buy leads, sell leads, or whatever it is. And again, of course, it's up to Google's discretion. And the only thing consistent with Google is that it's inconsistent. So that's what my strategy would be is to run. YouTube would be great. People that are like ways to sell my house for the most amount of money. Long tail phrase match is going to be less competitive than just sell my house, which you're never going to rank for. Unless you're going to, Southern Alabama in like a 270 person town where there's no competitors, then you're going to get.
What are you saying about Alabama, John?
There's not a lot of competitors there.
So your pot shops at the South.
That's all. I mean, my whole family's in Southern Missouri, and I can tell you, it's not the land of digital marketer. Let's just say that.
Mark, do you guys use Google Ads Editor? Do you recommend it?
Love it. Yes.
You know who loves Ads Editor is Yvonne.
Yeah.
Our CTO.
Yeah, especially, it's funny. I like Ads Editor. I don't like it as much as replicating and duplicating inside of the Google Ads dashboard. I find that if I need to, upload 15 ads to multiple accounts, I'll upload 15 ads normally. I'll just copy all 15 and then hop into a different ad account and paste, or I'll copy into a different campaign and paste. So, those type of bulk uploads and that kind of stuff, I still like using the Ads Editor, just because for me, like copying and pasting and then posting and then refreshing and then seeing takes about the same amount of time. So I love the Google Ads Editor if you really need it. That is, if you're shaving off like what I found to be like 5 to 10 seconds with what I'm trying to do anyway, sometimes it just takes like 10 seconds just to launch Editor. So it's like, oh, I might as well just hit copy paste it while I'm in here. So again, it's great, but does it actually save you time? Just depends on what you're doing.
Dave Fogel, what do you think is fair percentage for someone who refers a client to you in the PPC world? Would you give them a monthly percentage or a one-time fee? First of all, Dave, I shot you a video. It's in the can. Dave commented on another video asking for 5 tips to improving your CTR, and I couldn't think of 5, so I had to Google it. I could only come up with 4. But the video's ready, Dave. It's in the can. I won't steal the video's thunder, but just so you know, that's in queue. And
Was that expected click-through rate or click-through rate?
Expected click-through rate, sorry.
Yeah, and that's sometimes a little bit of a gray area with Google because it's just like, well, based on everybody else.
So you know what's funny about it is when I Googled it, and I looked at like the first 2 results and I was like, this is crap. I'm just going with what I got. But everybody's talking about improving quality score. And I'm like, that expected click-through rate is one of the 3 data points in quality score. Like, why you have this reversed?
Yeah, I know it's expected click-through rate, landing page experience, and ad relevancy make up quality score. But also page speed. Page speed makes up quality score, I think. Almost
page and mobile.
yeah. But you know what's funny is increasing click-through rate. The biggest thing is positioning. That's it.
You mean how much you pay?
Really, I know, and it's so funny too. Is I've increased my expected click-through rate score from below average to average just by bidding higher. Yep. And it's like, well, we expect you to actually have a pretty good click-through rate if you're bidding higher. And you'll notice there's a very common theme in Google Ads, in the recommendations tab, and everything that's like, if you just spent more, things would be better. It's like, it's love
you more.
I know, it's like the mafia. It's like protect you from us.
Looks like you're gonna need some insurance here.
Yeah, it looks like this ad has a really bad optimization score. Just beat the crap out of it. It's like, really? So just know that basing it off of that performance, sometimes a 2% click-through rate way outperforms a 4% click-through rate because you paid half as much to get there and you get twice the amount of traffic. So, I always base everything off of results. Am I getting the right amount of leads for the exact cost per lead? Or am I getting the right amount of sales at the exact ROAS that I need, at the volume that I need, and then work backwards from there? That's the best thing. Start with the results, work backwards. Don't try to work at like what we call the vanity metrics to get the results. You end up spending way too much money doing that. Work at the results. Okay, am I having low lead volume? Is my daily budget too low? I'm having low lead volume. Is my position too low? I'm having low quality leads. Is my position too low, or is it the wrong page? Or is it a keyword? Click-through rate's good. Click-through rate is obviously ad copy. Use responsive ads rather than expanded text. Use responsive ads all the time. Google artificially gives responsive ads more exposure. It just does. Your ad extensions are going to give you a better position, which gives you better click-through rate, which gives you better expected click-through rate, which gives you a cheaper CPC. So use every single ad extension you possibly can. All the good stuff. If you can have 4 site links and a main headline, you have 5 links and the next competitor has 1, you're going to get better click-through rate. So again, there's a lot of things there, but it's just utilizing
all the wind out of the video that I shot. Now it's all. Don't even
Sorry. Watch the video, I rabbit hole, and I just think that I'm just the only one in my room here. And I'm like, what I would do?
Yeah, I've got. Well, whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, Dave, to answer your question directly, we pay a 10% referral fee. If somebody refers a client to us, we pay 10% for a year. The caveat to that, we have some clients that spend a significant amount. So our pricing is our pricing. We don't discount. I'm pretty bullish on that. I feel like it's just easier in life if people know that your pricing is for real. But when somebody's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, we of course have price breaks. When we have a price break client, we can't always afford to pay that same 10% because the margins thin out pretty significantly. So if this is something you're trying to come up with for yourself, I'd say pay a standard fee, pay it recurring, my soft opinion. And the reason you want to do that is because you want somebody to have a shot in the pocket every month. Every month you want a reminder, oh yeah, I should revert Dave more work. So I'd pay it recurring but just have a little asterisk. Like if we build a custom package, a special package, discount, whatever, then the referral fee is going to alter. And, maybe that's like a really nice gift basket or, whatever, a one-time fee paid up front, or maybe you give them a free month or something more appropriate. John, agree, disagree?
No, I would definitely agree. It's and that's the thing too is when you're looking at referral fees, like Dave, you said, I have someone asking for 50%, and I was like, it's like, yeah. So that means you have at least 100% margin.
Dave said I have somebody. Is that later in the chat? I didn't read that.
It's up at the top. Yeah, I just popped in. So it says we're on the topic. I have a couple other ones that we need to answer, but it was just Dave said I had someone asking for 50%. I was like, it's like, yeah, that means you have to have like 100% margin.
Agencies are running on 20%. Tell the good agency. There's a HubSpot article that talks about agency margins. The average agency is 10 to 15%. A good agency is aiming at 20%. So if they want a 50% of the gross, like that's insane. A 10% referral fee effectively makes them a 50-50 partner on your net. You're giving them half. So no, I'd tell that person to pound sand. That's stupid.
Yeah. Hey, I can't scroll the comments in this.
I can. Right?
Ha. What the heck?
I don't know.
Oh well. So there was another one talking about, I saw real quickly, lawyer ads.
Yeah, Marco, I do have one more question. I'm running a campaign about lawyer who represents veterans. Any tips and tricks about keywords?
Not on keywords, honestly, because there will be probably someone that says, lawyer who specializes in veteran something. My expectation there is going to be the low search volume notification is going to pop, which means that people still search it, just not often enough to run your ads.
Couldn't you go for pivots though? Like if somebody searches for DD-214, they need documentations. If somebody's searching for like veteran affairs or VA whatever, like I know that that's heavily diluted. But if the search traffic is cheap enough, like couldn't you find so that they're a veteran interested in, like if somebody's going to the veterans hospital, like maybe that's a personal injury case. I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say like, veteran representation, something like that. Veteran legal counsel. I would say I'm do actually a quick search here real quick.
I just Googled lawyers for veterans, and there's an ad, lawyers for veterans. They're just
veteran benefits lawyer, veterans legal services, criminal lawyers for veterans. There's a lot though about like pro bono for veterans, free lawyers. Make sure free is a negative keyword. That's a good strategy right there, because a lot of people that could be looking for this
pro bono nonprofit.
Like, hey, I'm a veteran. Can I just have some assistance? That might be a lot of searches. So
Agent Orange, PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah. So So I would. Here's what I would say is a good strategy. Just because obviously we can't do keyword research on this call, but go to Google, type in veteran lawyers, go to the bottom and look at related searches. There is criminal lawyers for veterans, veteran benefits lawyers near me. Lawyers for veterans legal services. Start looking at those related searches, build a keyword list that way. That is usually when you see related searches, that means that it has enough search volume for Google to identify it, which means it usually will run an ad. So go to Google, type in the keywords that you think, maybe not work and maybe not exist. Scroll to the bottom, look at related searches. That's a gold mine for keyword research. It's, in my opinion, better than Keyword Planner. So that is what I would say, because then you see what people search. Like free lawyers for veterans near me. Obviously, we don't want that one, but that is high intent. That's perfect. So lawyers for veterans near me, just remove the word free. There's one of your keywords. So that's what I would try.
Yeah, and honestly, if the one place where I would keep free in there, and this is more of a business model thing, but if you're an attorney that works on a participation base, so like let's say you're taking 30% of the gross of any claim that's being made, and I know a lot of personal injury attorneys are like that. They don't make any money unless you make money, and then at that point they take a pretty large chunk.
Yeah.
In some instances, that's free, more or less. Like when somebody's looking for free, they might just be looking for no cost up front. So something to test. Depends. Jawad says, thank you, John and Costum, for your replies. Have a great day. You're welcome, Jawad. Thanks for being here. Adawale says, is it wise to continue to run smart shopping ad when ecom product ID has not been working 99% of the time for over 5 months? Still waiting for a fix from a Google rep. Hold your breath there.
Well, do this. So here's something that I find that's kind of funny. And who is that question from?
Adawale. And I'm so sorry. If you want to type in how I pronounce your name phonetically, I will never mispronounce it again.
But for now, you're going to be Adawale.
Adewale. Adawale.
Yeah.
Adawale. I'm Googling it.
Adawale. Yeah, I'm just going to call you Adawale. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. Here's what I would look at. Because ecom prod ID errors do not resolve, the error message doesn't resolve on its own, which means if it starts working, that message will still stay there. So 2 things you want to check. if ecom prod ID is 0 and ID, just the two letters, ID is going to be another one down below from ecom prod ID. If ID is also 0, then you have a problem. But if you see that it's any percentile over 0, like 4, 20, 30, doesn't matter, click on the X on that ecom prod ID issue, and to make that message go away, refresh the screen. You might see a green checkbox now. So try that first. It might save you months of headache. I helped someone recently with this. I'm like, hey, it looks like it's working fine. So click the X and hit refresh. You click the X and hit refresh, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's not a thing anymore. He goes, oh, well, I'll just tell Google I'm not waiting anymore. So just check that first, because it's a false positive that doesn't go, or not false positive. It's an error that doesn't go away even if it self-resolves. So just check that.
I just Googled it. There's no pronunciation help for add a whale, but I do see that it means royalty came home, which is pretty cool.
Sweet. It's a lot better than John. I'm named after a toilet.
Casa means the distributor, which is a lot like the dictator, so I'm not sure that I want to hang that. Dave, Casa, watch your town hall. Oh, yeah, well, if y'all have the opportunity to go check out the Optimizer PPC Town Hall. It's run by Frederick Vallis. Frederick was employee 430 some at Google. Y'all, this guy invented conversion tracking. He bought Google Analytics. The company that created analytics that is now Google Analytics, Frederick is the one that identified that opportunity and bought it on behalf of Google. He was Google's Google Ads evangelist for a really long time. Brilliant cat. And he runs I don't know if it's weekly or monthly, but he runs a regular town hall and has people on there and talks about stuff.
That was called Urchin, wasn't it?
What's it called?
Urchin.
Oh, pre-analytics?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There was a company called Urchin, if I remember. Hold on, let me just look. I'm just for fun. Google launched service November 2005 after acquiring Urchin. Yeah, that's crazy.
How'd you know that?
I Googled it.
I just dropped a link up for the town hall in the chat. Sorry I like Frederick. He's a good dude. We don't use Optimizer right now. We were demoing it, and what we really wanted it for was bid monitoring, because Google does a really bad job at we have 160 accounts, and so being able to monitor, receive notifications, those types of things would have been very helpful. We had some really minor UI issues and that they're helping us with, and so right now we're sort of in limbo. But I thought it was a really cool tool. I'd say this if Frederick were on here, and he's actually been on my YouTube channel before. He obviously leans more in the direction of automation than we do. We obviously lean more in the direction of manual management. Over time, he will win. On a long enough timeline, Frederick is definitely going to win. But right now, I think Optimizer is a phenomenal resource. And I mean, he had a guy on there when I was on the town hall. He had a guy on there. They're managing like 300 accounts with 3 dudes. But I don't know that they could get to the same depth that we get to on a per account basis. Like the accounts that they're managing, I think are pretty. I don't want to use the word generic because that's dismissive. I'm not trying to make it a pejorative, but they're general. They're run of the mill. So if you have something a little more competitive or that needs a little bit more in the way of applied specificity, strategy, etc., I think Optimizer is a really good overlay. I think some of what it does to help you view, monitor, manage is great. I'm more hesitant about automated adjustments.
What we find Optimizer was good was alerts. And I think that is something that's huge. I'm against, just because I'm the chief strategist, I'm against letting Optimizer do it for me. That's because that's me. And I obviously literally do nothing but 10 hours a day of Google ads. So for me personally, and I'm going to be the minority, I don't like having that tool make those decisions for me, but I love being alerted, because then it's almost like you're an assistant. This is like, runs in the room, is like, hey, John, it looks like this thing is going down here. I think we should do this. What do you think we should do? And then I get to be the person who's like, let me think, and then I go to make my decision. So the alerts.
No, what you just said is perfect. That, let me think. You need that. You need a real human to sit there and go, I know more context than the machine. I know the product. I know the client. I know the cyclical market. And even more than that, let's say the machine is right. And this gets a little philosophical, so everybody bear with me, because I've thought so much about this. You have your starting point, okay? And then think of it as a decision bubble, like a cloud bubble. You have your starting point, and then you have a change or an impact from the ecosystem that was made that required the machine to make one decision. So now I was here and now I'm here, okay? So the next change that the machine makes puts me 2 standard deviations away from my core, my starting point. From that point on, I will never be able to manually intervene again because I don't know how I got here. So if you ever get to a point to where the machine is wrong, something's thrown off, the ecosystem changes, like you can't follow that line of thinking. You haven't drawn that out for yourself. I think it's really important for people to continue to manually intervene in their campaigns. Forgive 100%. The soapbox.
Yep.
Dave says, John, are you saying don't use expanded text ads, just responsive?
Well, I'll give you a good example.
Expanded, didn't they? It's gone.
You can still get back to them, and if you still are running them right now, it'll let you continue to run them. You can get back to them by when you build an ad. It's like up at the top. Yeah, it's like, well, it's this little text. It's like, hey, if you'd like to switch back to text ads, click here, and then you can click on that and get back to your two expanded.
Last time I was in Google Ads, that wasn't there.
Wasn't there?
Let me see if I'm lying to you. Hold on. Keep going. You had an example you're going to give.
Here's what I found. We're running a campaign for a client that we're getting 20 to 30% conversion rates. Like, we know our ads, we know our keywords, and this is something that's been doing 20, 30% conversion rates for a year. It is perfect. The client didn't like what the responsive search ad was delivering for headlines and descriptions. And what happened was the responsive had, I'm just going to use some round numbers. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 50% of the traffic was to the responsive, 25 was the expanded, 25 was the expanded. When we shut off the responsive and just did the expanded, even though the expanded had slightly better performance, but at a lower volume, when we shut off the responsive, we even increased our budget. We never got more impressions. We lost 50% of our impressions. We lost 50% of our impressions, 50% of our clicks, 50% of our conversions, did it for 2 weeks. Did it for 3 weeks, and it never came back. We turned off the expanded, turned on one responsive, and then we got 100% of it back, and then it scaled, and now we can go from $300 a day up to $1,500 a day. It is insanity. So Google was just not giving us the search traffic we were already getting once we removed one responsive and kept 2 expanded. I've tested this a couple times, and every single time, now I just run only responsive. I don't run expanded at all anymore because I will artificially shoot myself in the foot with volume, and I know that to be true. So just from experience, I know that if you don't run responsive, you're limiting your exposure because Google is just not going to serve that ad as much as the responsive that it likes. So yeah, I would not run expanded at all. That's just unless you have, again, if you have a kick butt ad that is running and is getting good impressions and getting good conversions, and even if you add a response, you might get more. But if you ever want to like scale that, I just have not been able to do it without responsive. It just wouldn't work.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you really want to say kick ass and you held yourself back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me check this out. Now, tell me if I'm not looking at the place. It used to be right here, right?
Top yeah.
Gone.
It's gone now.
Gone like a freight train. Gone like
yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. So now it's just responsive search ads.
Wow, look at that. So yeah, I guess you're stuck now.
It's over for you. Alex says, I've got 30-day average ROAS of 150% right now, and I'm considering turning on T-ROAS now or next month. How far should I dial back my initial T-ROAS goal?
Say that one more time.
Sorry. I've got a 30-day average ROAS of 150%. Considering turning on T-ROAS now or next month. The question is, how far should I dial back my initial T-ROAS goal? 125%, 100%?
What's the daily spend and how long has the account been running? Is 2 things I'll need to know.
Yeah, drop that in, Alex. We'll come back to you.
Yep.
Justin says, hey, guys. What's up, Justin?
Hey.
And when I read that, I read like, hey, you guys.
Baby Ruth.
Dave says, I find anything with near me in it gets a crap quality score. Do you always leave it in anyway?
I always test it. And what's so funny is the, Can I share my screen actually?
Oh yeah. There's a little, do you have the ability? I don't know, as a guest.
It says, yeah, creating one responsive search, I can give you better performance than multiple text ads. Use expanded text ads instead. It's still there for me. It was so funny because how do I share screen on this?
There's icons at the bottom. Do you have those?
There we go.
Oh, I have to enable it for you.
All right, so I'll go back, just leave, but it's in here. If I click responsive search ad and just agency, it's still there for me.
Wow. Is this a legacy account?
It's ours.
Okay. Dude, I bet you that's why. What I showed you was an account that I created for one of the trainings I was doing.
Oh, wow.
So all new accounts, they're just holding back expanded text ads. Just losing more and more.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. Well, make it harder. That's good for us. Here. So this is what I was going to say about the near me's. I always test it, and I had a nationwide campaign. Well, I still have a nationwide campaign running right now. It's for a online accounting firm that we're looking for local accounting firms near me and like local bookkeeping near me, and they're opting in and generating themselves as a lead on my SaaS company in a different state. So they were looking for a physical brick and mortar store locally. They found me instead of the campaign that I'm running and are opting in. And that's my third best performing keyword right now. So test it because it still may work. But again, I don't think that this is something that we're going to be, making a generalized rule about, but we'll see if it still stays there. But so far it's pretty good. I'm pretty surprised.
I lost my chat. Oh, wait, here. No, I'm back. KO Manu, when I add a T-ROAS to Smart Shopping, is it best to add the actual ROAS I've had the last 30 days, which is currently about 100%, or should I add 20% under that to give the algorithm some space to work?
All right, say that one more time. Sorry, my brain goes through like 100 different things at once when you say this something.
That's
one
okay.
more time. Sorry.
When I add a T-ROAS to Smart Shopping, is it best to add the actual ROAS I've had over the last 30 days, which is 100%, or should I add 20% under that to give the algorithm space to work?
Well, it's interesting. It really depends on what you want to achieve. If you're spending a high amount in Google Ads on Smart Shopping as an example, and you are getting good performance, and you're like, hey, I need to make this profitable, and you're getting like, let's say 200, jump it up to 400, find out how much traffic you lose, and then back it down from there to find a good point between a pretty good ROAS and pretty good daily budgets. I'll give you an example. This is the reason why. I had a campaign recently I ran just before 90 days. I think it was like a week before 90 days. It was getting about 265 ROAS. I said, give me 375. It gave me 375. I lost 0.10% of my spend. It went down 0.1%, which I don't even know if it was really related to the ROAS. But my ROAS shot right up to like 410. I was like, okay, it stayed there for a week. It was doing exactly what I wanted it to do. It just chose a little bit higher price products and was able to sell those. And I said, okay, that's 375. What about 475? Raised it up to 475. Then my spend dropped down by about 40%. It went from, I think, like $200 a day down to like 110 or $120. It dropped significantly. So when it says, okay, that's the line where Google just cannot spend that money and make that ROAS. So then I said, okay, now I'm going to back it down from 475 down to 400. And then my spend came back about 30%. And now I'm like, all right, I'm 20% down from where I was, but I went from 260 up to 400. And now I'm just hanging tight there. And I actually started to increase budget. I said, now I'm forcing increased spend. So I'm like, okay, go from about $200 a day. I said, spend 400. And in the last week now, it's actually spent 20% more. When you give Google a target that says, hey, I know we're spending $200 a day, spend 400, spend 500, 600, 700. Google will find whichever way, shape, and form to earn that money because Google likes money. So it's going to try to, all of a sudden I see my CPC start to drop. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like you can actually force it to spend. So just start increasing that daily budget. And after you found the good volume of ROAS, and it will find its way. And why you want to drop the target ROAS in order to keep the activity high is Google needs to see those conversions for it to continue to optimize. You don't just want to like kill it and then you get one conversion a day at like 1,000 ROAS, but now you have low volume and it will never learn. It'll just actually fizzle out and die after that. So find a good balancing point between, okay, this is where Google cannot spend this budget anymore, but can deliver me that result. Then set it there as a target ROAS, and then start to increase your spend. And what you'll see is your campaign will just start to spend more and continue on with that same ROAS. And that's a good way to scale it.
Marco says, if you guys ever make a course about Google Ads, I'll be the first one to buy it. It's almost embarrassing to ask everything that I would like to know. First of all, don't be embarrassed. Second of all, we do have a course. I'll drop that in the chat. We have a course for lead gen already in the can, and we have a course for ecom that should be done by the end of the month. Here's what I'll say, though. All the content in the course is on our YouTube channel for free. The course does a much, much, much better job, I think, of like putting it in a nice, unified, cohesive order. And so if you just want to pay for the organization and the narrative, then you can buy the course. But it's not cheap. It's $1,000. And I don't want to bait and switch anybody. We're not holding anything back. The YouTube channel is a little disparate, so you'd have to kind of like choose your own adventure and figure out things on your own. But it's important for me to say those words out loud. That said, I appreciate the vote of confidence, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question. Where were we? Man, this is cool. It's everybody's super engaged. It's hard to manage the multiple streams too, because just questions are coming in from multiple channels, y'all. So forgive me for bouncing around. Dave says, yeah, that guy didn't seem like the sharpest tool in the shed to me. I think Dave's talking about me here. No, he's referring to the referral at 1 or 50%. Teresa says, I don't see the link for the town hall. Thanks. Oh. You know what, Teresa? You're in LinkedIn. And so I'm wondering if LinkedIn doesn't have the proper chat integration. But if you just Google Optimizer Town Hall, it'll be the very first thing that comes up. Optimizer is a SaaS product, and they run a weekly town hall. Dave says, how is Optimizer different than Google Auto Applied recommendations? There's a lot of logic that you get to build an optimizer. It's like marketing automation. It's if this, then that. So if my average position drops below, you get to make the decisions. And Google Auto Applied Recommendations is a totalitarian regime forcing things upon you without your ability to push back in any way.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah. So Optimizer is really cool in that, and especially if you have consistent rules. And we had this. John and I had the highest performing real estate investment agency on the planet for 7 years, and there were just rules that we knew. If this happens, if this falls below that threshold, then we do this thing. Now, the only reason we were able to do that is because we were in one industry for a really long time, spending a massive amount of money. Some of those rules could have been applied through Optimizer. And that's where I would use things like that. But in Google Auto Applied Recommendations, or the fact that you have auto applied, and some of the stuff that they're auto applying now is just shocking. It's shocking how far
everything.
Yeah,
it's everything. They'll change
keywords.
They changed my bidding strategy once. I'm like, no, I don't want maximized conversions. My manual CPC was doing great, and now my CPCs and CPA is like double what it used to be. I'm like,
dude, some of it doesn't show up in change history. There's like a separate special change history that
we have a video about it too. So I gave you the link right in the description in the video. So if anybody wants to go hop in the channel and check it out, you can actually see if you are opted in, because it's so funny because I never opted into that, and all of a sudden it gives me dates like, oh yeah, you opted in on this date. It's like, because you did it.
You opted.
You opted me in. What's that?
Do you remember what that video is called? I want to drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll drop it in here in the chat here. I'll find it real quick for you. For us.
Adawell says, my pronunciation's okay. Boom!
Hey!
And we've got Alex back. What percentage to ROAS, and after how long is it safe? 10% every 2 weeks, every month. What is a solid percentage to time ratio?
Oh, I just chatted you the link if you want to drop it in here. And I'm so sorry. Okay. Can we say it again?
Yeah. So remember, we skipped Alex because he asked about improving his ROAS, and he says, what percentage increase to target ROAS, and after how long is safe? 10% every 2 weeks, every month. What's the solid percentage to time ratio? And some additional context is he says the campaign's been running for 2 months. First month, it looks. Alex, is this correct? You spent $125 over the 2 month period. The first month spent $62.50, and the second month spent $125.
Yeah, I would not recommend running smart shopping with anything less than $1,500 a month. Oh, a day. Okay, cool.
Oh, a day. Goodness.
I was gonna say, if you're getting 150% ROAS, like good on you, like crank that thing up.
What a job, because we would use that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead. So 125. Then say it again.
125 a day. The first month was at 63 a day. The second month was at $125 a day. It's been running for 2 months. And Alex wants to know when to increase his target ROAS and at what increments.
Yeah. Again, it's so funny because I don't know how it's going to perform, and no one really will. And that's kind of my SOP is. I even had
blow up.
Well, I even had singular product campaigns that I was like, "Give me 400." It's like, all right. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Like it worked. So what I would say is just turn on a 300% ROAS goal. Your 125 a day is probably going to go down to something, probably. But if it doesn't, you save yourself a whole amount of headache and time just going right to the end result. So again, I would go right to the end result, stick on 300. Does 125 go down to 90? Hang tight. Does 125 go down to 40? Back down your target ROAS goal. Does 125 even start to stay well, but then all of a sudden it starts to overspend? Like some days you might spend 140, then start cranking up your budget. So it just depends on what happens when you ask it to do what you need it to do. So stick the ROAS in there that you want. If you see your daily ad spend dip down too much, it's going to learn less later on. It's going to learn less continuously. So that's a bad thing. Back it off. But back it off down from 300% down to 250. Then if it still doesn't go up high enough that you need to, 250 to 200. Then once you find it there, you need to then start to increase your daily ad spend so that it starts to get better volume and learn at that level faster. Then you can actually start to raise the ROAS goal.
Can I show you something?
Yeah.
All right. So this is an article that Google released yesterday or the day before yesterday on understanding smart bidding. Here's the segment that just
you should feel comfortable changing CPA and ROAS targets as frequently as you'd like and buy as large as magnitude as you'd like.
No, it's in writing. Buy as large a magnitude as you would like.
You know what? I take that back. Stick a 2,000% ROAS on there. Google says you're pretty fine. You're gonna get it.
You should feel comfortable giving us as much money as you'd like for as long as you'd like, as innocent as you'd like.
Yeah, just give us money and then give us what you want. We'll get you whatever we feel like. We'll feel comfortable with it.
We'll bring it. It's fine. It'll
be okay.
Alex, I hope that answers your question. Dave says Google seems to be constantly implementing things to make things like WordStreamer optimizer irrelevant. I think that there's a dance there for sure. I think that they have a really long shelf life ahead of them because
it's a virus antivirus game.
Yeah, no,
Google does something and then the third party comes in and says to make that better.
Right. Well, it's like, the iOS 14 update. We actually solved the iOS 14 update and won an award for it. You can find that video in our chat too. But the iOS 14 update that took data away from Facebook has created a chasm that is going to be filled by all these little companies that are now, helping with attribution, Facebook conversion API, Facebook click ID, identification, whatever. So everything that Google does, to John's point, tips the scale out of balance. And then you get a company like Optimizer that comes in there and gets to balance it back. So I do think you're right. I think that Google on some levels is trying to work against or maybe even replace. And in some facets and instances, they may do so successfully. But for the most part, I think that those companies are actually I've got a friend. His name's Rob Warner. He's the CEO of Invisible PPC. You got to see this damn thing too. Hold on. Sorry. I'm about to go on a sales pitch. So he's got an application called PPC Ad Lab. Check this thing out. It's unfreaking believable. PPC Ad Lab. And what it does is it allows you to monitor. I'll show you ours. It allows you to monitor your competitors, who's bidding when in a specific geography. So I'm looking at anybody bidding against Solutions 8 inside of Arizona, and I can see by date and time who's bidding, where they're ranking, what their ad copy looks like. I can graph this out in a table. I can view it in a chart. I can see the heat map. Where did my chart go? I pressed the wrong button. I can filter, identify specific ad copy targets, filter by location, filter by keywords that I'm targeting, etc. Amazing piece of software. Here's what Rob says. It's actually it's analogous to something I heard about Shopify. Shopify says that Amazon is the empire and we're arming the rebels. And Rob has said we're giving data back to the advertisers. So Google has actually created the opportunity for Rob to create something like this. We've got an affiliate link for PPC Ad Lab somewhere. So if you buy it through us, please. But regardless, go buy it because the thing is freaking amazing. Dave says, so best practice was 1 responsive, 2 expanded, and now you're only doing 1 responsive or several?
I'm using 2 responsive. Partially the reason is because 1 responsive search ad usually sucks up 15 of your quality headlines and 4 of your quality descriptions. I usually will do 2 different versions of them, just with small minor variations just to see. But what's interesting is when you look at your responsive search ad and then you look at the view asset details and check combinations, and you look at what is the best performing, a lot of times that isn't your best ad copy. I don't know why. Even on brand, I'm like, okay, this still doesn't make sense. Maybe it's just because it's just branded, it's going to get a better result. But when things are like, the 2 headlines that I wouldn't have stuck together and a top performing campaign is getting great results, and those 2 headlines are not the ones that I would have chose, I am okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I always think that's kind of funny, and hopefully no clients ever actually see this that have run into this issue. But like when we have a client that's making a ton of money and they start doing things like, I don't like the way that our ads look, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I do not. Like,
I know. You don't pay.
Yeah. If it's inconsistent with their model or their brand or their values or whatever, I totally understand. But if they're just like, I don't like the way this presents, and I'm like, well, do you like cash? Like cold, hard cash?
Right. Well, what I usually do is then and again, this is a client manager strategy, but it's just like, hey, totally understand. Absolutely. No worries about it here. There's 3 ads. This is your best performing ad. We're going to shut this one off.
You want me to turn off the money-making machine? You want that off?
And then they're like, oh, yeah, okay.
You want me to just close this tap of money?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, hey, I have the shotgun, and this is your ad account here.
Are we going to old yeller this thing?
Yeah. We're going to take it out back and just because you don't like it?
Adewell says, so I checked and the ID is reporting and also clicked the X button, refreshed Google, and I got a green check. Your audience source has been active over the last 24 hours. Thanks a lot, guys. John fixed it in what was
I
that?
went in there with my mind and I made your ecom ID fire. So again, I've seen this, and it's so stupid because Google just leaves that error up forever, and you're like, well, I'm just getting shafted forever. No, it's just that once it basically heals itself, or you fix the error, Google themselves, who make your recommendation tab, by the way, still say, you're running into an error. No, you're not. Like, gosh, this is just, I'm done. Rant over.
Yeah. Amazing people. Mark Wunsch. Y'all, this is funny. Mark was my little brother's best friend growing up. We lived on the same street, like 10 houses down. And all of a sudden, like, we're chatting back and forth via YouTube. I don't know why I get the biggest kick out of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mark, how you doing, brother? Mark's a software engineer. I think, Mark, you live in what? Maybe I shouldn't say where you live in live videos, but really, really, really brilliant guy. And Mark says, do you find many clients wanting to use anything other than the default last click attribution model?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Every attribution model is appropriate. Start there, because that's where it kind of takes you out of the mindset of, which one's the best?
Yeah.
There's going to be a best one for every scenario. So thinking of the standpoint of, I have 2 campaigns that never actually interact with each other. Okay, first click's going to work, last click's going to work, data-driven would work, linear would work. Doesn't matter, because there's no inter-campaign activity. Now, if you look at the scenario a little bit wider and say, well, I have a smart shopping, a dynamic remarketing, a brand, a search, a DSA, a competitive one. Now, first click, in my opinion, becomes a little bit more relevant, because last click, when you're running a brand campaign, is going to deliver too much attribution to your brand campaign, take it too much away from the campaign that originally brought them there, and just say, when they searched after they've already been to your site and they searched for your brand name, they came in and converted on the brand. Well, great, everyone knows that. But where did it come from, and how do I scale that? Because I can't scale my brand campaign. That's not going to bring me new clients. So you use first click and find out where they came from. Well, actually, that came from the competitor campaign. I'm getting a lot of good competitor conversions. Great. Now you can scale the competitor because you can see that. But regardless, and think about this. Think about all of the campaigns. Look at your top conversion paths, see how they're intertwining with each other, and which one you would rather give the attribution to. That's going to be the first step. The second one that you can help yourself do this if you already have campaigns running is go into the model comparison tool inside of Google Ads, not analytics, but inside of Google Ads under attribution, under measurement, there's a model comparison tool. That model comparison tool will say like, well, if I chose first click versus last click, what would be the difference? First click versus data driven, what would be the difference? And a good rule of thumb is you want to give them more attribution to the campaign that is the biggest. That's usually the best because that learns the fastest, you can scale it more. But just think about what you need to know about your campaigns. How are they interacting with each other? Do they always go like from search to brand, search to brand, search to brand? Don't use last click because then none of the search will actually get any sort of attribution. And then you can't even use automated bidding strategy if you want to because it's going to see no conversions. So look at your top conversion path, look at your model comparison tool, look at your campaign structure, look at your top and look at how they are interacting with each other. And then make your determination there. If I were to give more weight to that campaign, what would stop me from scaling or knowing? And then go through that way. So it's a really horrible answer, but it's just you have to educate yourself on your specific campaign because what works for you is not going to work for someone else. So I can't generally just say like, yeah, use this one. Know your campaign interactivity. And if there's no campaign interactivity, then it doesn't matter.
We've got 30 some odd Montessori schools that are running ads through us. Every Montessori school is in a different city. And every single Montessori school, well, not every one of them, but they all have different attribution settings and bid strategies and different combinations of those things. And their keywords are basically the same. Their ad copy is basically the same. So these are effectively the exact same campaigns, but change.
Some of those are from websites we built too.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the websites are the same. Change the geography, the competitive context, and everything changes. So I hope that was a good answer. Mark Wunsch, good to hear from you, brother. Dave Fogel says, I hate auto apply. My Google rep keeps trying to get me to use it. I'm like, no, your ads suck, your keywords suck, and your audience suck. It's so true. Oh, by the way, I dropped a link to the model comparison tool video in the chat. So if you want to see model comparison tool, if you want to see John teach you how to use it, then it's in the chat. But yeah, don't listen to your Google rep. We don't even answer their calls anymore. And y'all,
I get 5 calls a day from them. 5.
Oh my God. They're getting sneaky. They're like dropping into my LinkedIn. They're filling out the contact. Did you see John, the last one filled out the contact form on our website?
I'm trying to get a hold of John Moran.
Well, because we're spending so much money, they're just like, we need to help you.
I spent 30 grand a day on one campaign. They're like, hey, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what it is, dude? It's like watching like a little emaciated wannabe weightlifter following Arnold around being like, I need to teach you how to do this. And it's like,
I know. Like, actually, if you were to.
Alex says, going back to Alex's question about ROAS, if it overspends, should I spend more?
Yes.
KL Manu says, John, how quickly should we back down the ROAS that was put on the smart shopping and by what percentage?
Whatever your time lag is. So look at your time lag. If it's like a 6-day time lag, you really can't make a good sound judgment on campaign performance until after that time lag is done. Long story short, if you have a 6-day time lag, you make changes on day 1. By day 6, day 1 is now going to be affected. So go through the time lag and then give it a couple days. So a couple days would be good enough to see is the algorithm going to start to act different. If not, 3 days after your time lag is a good, okay, I can back it down a little bit more now.
Alex says, yeah, how long should we, that's kind of the same question. How long should we let these incremental changes in ROAS and budget run for smart shopping ROAS before changing them?
Yeah, best case though, 3 months.
Yeah.
That's really it. If you need to make changes because it's like I'm losing money and I can't wait 3 months, then at least wait till your time lag's over and then give it a few days, possibly a week. But the actual really case scenario is 3 months. And for making large changes in smart shopping, that's literally how long it takes.
Kale Manu says, thanks for the replies. You're welcome. Thanks to y'all. Thanks for being here and for listening to us.
Seriously.
I love our little community. I think it's amazing. I'm so excited about it. And a quick, mildly selfish plug is we run ads. And I'm only saying that because I'm seeing in comments now, people saying things like, I wish I could hire you. And I'm like, man, what made you think that you can? So go to our website. If you're interested, it's sola.com. We have a $2,000 minimum ad budget, but as long as you're spending $2,000 a month or more, we could be a really good fit, and we'll tell you if we're not. Simon says, for a service-based business with a wide service area, how would you structure ad groups to target each city with specific keywords and landing pages, dozens of counties with all main cities within?
So for a service-based business with a wide service area, how would you structure ad groups to target each city with specific keywords, landing pages? Okay. It's going to take a lot of work if you want to do it that way. That's just period. You can use dynamic keyword insertion. I wouldn't recommend it. Here's what I would do instead. Build, obviously, your campaign. Build a service area ad group. But in your ad copy, use the dynamic location insertion and then use location : city. And we have a video about it. But basically what this does is if you wanted to have maybe not necessarily as small, minute area, if you wanted to go a little wider, with dynamic location insertion in headline number 1 and pin it there, wherever the person is citywide, it actually reflects that city inside of the ad. So let's say I'm in Phoenix and I type in Google Ad Agency, my ad will say best ad agency Phoenix. If Cosm's in Mesa and he says best ad agency, that same ad group targeting that wide location will say best ad agency Mesa. It actually inserts the location of where the user is searching from and puts that at headline number 1. So if you wanted to do like a city or like a large 60-mile radius and there's 10 towns in there, using location insertion, as someone searches for local plumber, you can say best plumber in city name, and it's like, well, that's my city. So that's a way to kind of make sure that no matter where they're searching from, it's local to them.
Brilliant. Isaiah says, hey guys, elbow cough. I think the emoji just didn't come through. What's up, Isaiah? Thanks for being here.
Hey.
So I looked at Qasim's course and I looked at your course and Qasim's hair is super short. What's the story with the long styles? This is my midlife crisis, Dave. I'm looking 40 down the barrel, and it's a Corvette is next, and probably like a spray tan. Isaiah said, what are your thoughts on third-party attribution tools and software? So disclaimer and disclosure, John and I are early-stage investors in an application called Northbeam, but we were users before we were investors, and we were advisors after we were users. So we started using it through a client because John is freaking brilliant. They heard all the things that he was asking for, and they're like, we need to meet with you weekly. And since then, we stroked a check, and we've invested in, and we're now super thrilled to be a part of them. I find them to be the gold standard. There's a couple out there, and I'm not going to bash anybody because I have some relationships that would be compromised. So I don't want to throw any barbs. I will say, if the application overwrites UTM parameters, don't use it. Because if the application overwrites UTM parameters, and if there's somebody who has it, and John, you correct me if you think I'm wrong. If it overwrites UTM parameters, you're killing your opportunity to capture first-party data. And go ahead.
I'll clarify that just a little bit. It can overwrite your UTM parameters, but it's only to work with that attribution. So I would say that you can still have your inside of your Google Ads because Northbeam overwrites UTM parameters, but it's used for their tool in order to identify did a first or last click come from.
No, that's not what I mean.
So,
what I mean is, there are tools that like clear out all available UTM parameters.
Yep, that's bad.
Don't use those.
I here's the thing is I will not necessarily. What I like about third-party attribution is it usually will tell you, is your story correct? Is your attribution model that you're using correct? And also, what happened after that or what happened before that? And that's where I like it. It's like if you're running Google Ads in Facebook, Google Ads will say, hey, I made a sale. Facebook will say, hey, I made a sale. Really only one sale took place, though. And so that a click came from Facebook, and that a click came from Google, and you may know that Google actually earned that sale, but does that mean Facebook was irrelevant? No. So that's the thing too, is you have to find out what was happening before they clicked on your Google ad, what happened after they clicked on your Google ad, and how do those two work together, and not which one should we shut off or cut out. How do we make these work together smarter and at scale? Because I'll just give you a really quick soundbite. If you have Facebook and Google running, and let's say Costum's on Facebook and John's on Google, you now have,
How dare you?
You basically now have let's say we're both on both channels. So Costum is on Facebook and Google, and I'm on Facebook and Google. Let's just say all things equal. You have 2 people with 4 impressions now total. If you cut out one network, you basically cut your impressions in half. but you also cut the ability to reach both people in half. So you almost could actually potentially cut out 75% of your market, because now I have a really good chance that Qasim's either on YouTube or on Google or on Facebook. I got him everywhere. But if I cut out a network, I possibly have either lost Qasim or have to say, well, now hopefully Qasim's on YouTube that day. He's on Facebook. Dang, you know what? Wait till Qasim goes to YouTube, then I got him. So you cut out so much more just by hacking off a little bit that you didn't really realize. And that's what I like about third-party software, is it tells you what potential loss could you make by saving $2 a click here, but then losing 10,000 people. It just doesn't make sense. So that's what I like about the third-party attribution software, is it gives you a multi-channel media efficiency score. That's what's really good.
Uzair is here. Y'all, just so you know, Uzair is our mentor in the world of YouTube. He's the reason that this YouTube channel exists. He's got his own YouTube channel that I just dropped into chat. If you want to check it out, he's got 17,000 subscribers now. And Uzair says, can you run my ads, please? Uzair's got a really cool coaching program too. It's awesome. It's worth looking at.
Yeah, love you, Uzair.
KL Manu says, can I turn on a ROAS before the 45 or 90 days if I actually reach it before?
Well, it depends. When you turn on a ROAS, just know that it's very, very difficult to scale. So if you want to stay there, exactly how this thing's running for long term, yeah, go ahead. But if you say, hey, I want to turn it on and then I need to double the budget in the next like 3 or 6 months, don't do it yet.
Follow up from him. Do you always let Smart Shopping run for a minimum of 90 days before doing, in all caps, anything, even if ROAS is positive?
Yes. Yeah. Because what you'll find out is that looking through your product groups, anytime, if you're running your first 30 days, unless you say, yep, every single product I have is over 100 clicks and some sales, then it's not going to make a difference. It's not done learning yet. So if you cut it off, if you do anything like remove a product or set a ROAS, you're locking it in to what it's learned so far, and that limits scale.
Dave Fogel, John, you mentioned you recommend using lead forms, but to me, we're asking for a lead before they get to the landing page to learn more about what we're doing. Do you think they produce worse leads?
I don't know if I ever recommended lead forms. If I did, and maybe that was something I sent accidentally. I don't necessarily recommend using them. I find them to be
appropriate. I said context appropriate.
Yeah, like what I'm doing is I have, 2 campaigns running right now. One is a lead form only campaign, but it's on like 1/5 the budget of my main campaign. Again, because I need them to see my website first. And I said this in a more recent video. I treat lead forms like call ad extensions. Like, they haven't been to your website. Those calls are, sometimes like they're like, are you guys this company? Like, no, that's not us. Oh, okay. But it's like, oh, they called the lead extension. They didn't even know who we were. They just called us to ask us. Now for us, we run very tight keywords around PPC agencies. I have very tight search terms about what I show up for. My introductory offer is a free ads action plan. I'm okay with that. Be like someone looking for an agency that wants an action plan. That's going to be fairly relevant to me. Now, it's not going to outperform my website visitors, but can I scoop up some inexpensive conversions before they start searching other competitors? Possibly. So it's worth testing.
Someone just emailed us asking if you offer one-on-one consulting. Somebody who's on this live chat. My question is why didn't they want to know if I offer one-on-one consulting? If a website, oh, sorry, I got lost again. KO Man, if a website, content, product, titles, descriptions, etc. is good, are DSAs better than normal search campaigns where I choose my own keywords?
Could be. Honestly, you need to have content though.
Maybe.
Well, that's the thing. Is the content on your page relevant? And that's the thing too, is like DSA can work, but it's so much more than just, title and description, and it's expansive. DSA works. It's just like, think about SEO. It's like SEO, you're never going to rank #1 for a page with 300 words on it. It's not going to happen. DSA is going to do the same thing. So make sure that your content is solid, expansive, and all of the other checkboxes that you have. So make sure that it's not like you're not using words and phrases like, hey, if you used to use like this company and you used to have this thing and you used to have that, you're going to have search terms for those things now because you mentioned it in your content on your page. So if you look at our homepage, we're talking about nothing but Google and PPC and Google ads and PPC ads, and that's it. When I run DSA, looks really clean. So if you talk about other things besides your core offer on the page, you're setting a dynamic ad target to, you're going to get search terms for those other things as well, and you're going to pay for them. So just make sure that if you run DSA, it's very clean.
Always exclude the blog.
Yes.
Mark says, what was the name of the attribution company? Northbeam. Yeah, northbeam.io, spelled exactly how it sounds. northbeam.io. Dave Fogel, Costum, I saw your solution to Facebook ads tracking. Do you think Facebook can implement something like that on their own? Also, maybe they'll buy you a Corvette for solving this. Man, I think I said this in the video, and what's really funny too is I've got a close friend who runs a Facebook agency who poked me in the ribs afterwards. But I said in the video, a Facebook agency should have fixed this. Like the facts that we're the ones that came up with this fix. And what's really frustrating now is people are messaging me, asking me questions, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with. I don't want to figure this out. I want to stay inside of Google. I think Facebook is looking at. They're looking at a continental shift. Like this is a major change. Facebook is a disembodied entity. Google, if you really think about it, Google Analytics is on 99% of front-facing websites. Google has such a breadth of data, and it exists in so many places, including having hardware, which is really important. Google's ability to acquire data isn't omni-channel. Facebook, no matter how you access Facebook, you're accessing through somebody's browsers, through somebody's device. So Facebook is and you might say the same thing about Amazon, but Amazon has Amazon Web Services, which if you think about it is absolutely freaking brilliant. It's a masterstroke. So all these companies that own the point of origin are in control. Companies like Facebook they have to live on top of something, and their ad channels now need to reflect that. So I don't think Facebook is going away. I think that there's still a massive amount of viability, maybe more because a bunch of advertisers are fleeing. But there's going to be a paradigm shift. And I don't know that Facebook can do – I think they could have done more to maybe prepare their advertisers. But everything that we did to fix it was on-site. So unless Facebook wants to start getting into on-site, tracking, which maybe they should, I think they just need to sit around and hope that the rest of us can start to piece some of these pieces back together.
Yeah.
Isaiah says, does Northbeam feed data back into the ad platform?
Not through integrations, but yes, through uploads. They do have an export feature, which you can upload.
Stonecraft Media, what's the UTM template snippet?
That was Yvonne was working on, I know. UTM.
Yvonne, are you here? If Yvonne's here, then he can give it to you. And if he's not, then it might actually be in YouTube somewhere. Just so y'all know, we're the Google Ads partner for, am I allowed to say that? I think so. We created the education. Yeah. We're the Google Ads partner for Go High Level. It's the fastest growing CRM on the planet. And Yvonne created a UTM, a whole tracking thing, actually.
Yvonne's our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer. So he was the one that was in charge of that. I don't have it just handy. I know we have it somewhere.
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll track it down, and if I can, I'll post a video about it. Uzair has to go. How dare you, Uzair? You're dead to me.
You were only here for 6 minutes, man.
Yeah. T-Boho says, hey guys, my name is T. What's up, T?
Hey.
I'm having a hectic problem targeting B2B audiences. My product is a WooCommerce payment plugin. How do I better target in Google AdWords, GDN, and YouTube?
I just pasted the link, Qasim. Can you paste that in the chat? To T-Boho, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to call you T. So T, this is a URL I would target as a custom audience. And the custom audience, don't use search websites. Use this as people who have searched this on Google. Use that URL, the wordpress.org/plugins/search/WooCommerce. This is going to target people and very similar audiences of people who have been to this page here. And if you click on that link, it goes to showing search results for WooCommerce, all of the plugins on WordPress. And there's a bunch of them there. So what this is indicating someone who is looking for some sort of WordPress plugin. Now, I can't dial down immediately into e-commerce, but I would say for better targeting on the display network on YouTube, using that custom audience, try that first. That page has a ton of traffic, thousands of people. And so if Google can identify the people who have, now this is very important, people who have searched this term on Google. This is why this is important. Your URL bar is a search bar. If you have a URL up there, that's the same thing as someone typing it in on Google. So this is basically targeting all the people that went to that page. So try that first and then use variations of it. Try to use URLs of places where people have been to before that would say, if my audience was here, I need to be in front of them. Use that. That's a really great strategy.
KO Manu, in continuation, John, when the website is clean, do you usually see that DSA outperforms normal search?
Yeah, that one campaign that we talked about having 20 and 30% conversion rates. We recently switched over to all DSA. We're running 3 DSA campaigns, only segmented by locations, and we get 20 and 30% non-branded conversions, 20 to 30% non-branded conversion rate, and we spend about $350 a day. It is it is a fantastic page, very clean. I can't share it obviously, but just know that everything they talk about is a unique value proposition about the topic, about why they have great performance. And all their value propositions, it's like, hey, I'll give you an example, a 0% financing, no long-term fees, like all the stuff that people are looking for, it's on that page. So that's why that you need to get that page dialed in. But we run only DSA, and we get 20 and 30% conversions for a year already.
The Montessori schools DSA outperform search in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it's instantaneous SEO. If SEO worked for you, DSA definitely worked for you.
Has SEO worked for anybody recently?
No.
We shouldn't say those words. I have some really good SEO partners. We have some folks that it's not worked for us. Although, we rank now. We're number 1. Let's everybody do me a favor. Open an incognito window and search for Google Ads agency, and then tell me. We're on the first page, but we're not at the top anymore. Never mind. Don't tell me. It'll depress me. Where do you see us, John?
Yeah, I see us like number 7.
Damn it. We were number 1 last week.
We always do the number Google. 1 and number 5 and number 1 and number 6 like every other day. It's the weirdest thing. So, hey, do it tomorrow.
Yeah, check it tomorrow. Isaiah's called us wizards. Nice. Appreciate you. We've got a jet here in about 4 minutes because we have a 10 o'clock that we need to prepare for. So we're going to do rapid fire questions. Drop your questions. Dave goes, Neil Patel got you. Neil Patel sold his soul to the Google gods. That guy ranks for everything. And I don't know how he does it. He's amazing. T says, hey guys, my microwave was on when you started commenting on my question. I'm sorry. T, go back and watch the recordings just so we're respectful of everybody else here. Kale says, when site is clean, how come DSA outperforms normal search? Can I not just target the same keywords and search terms with the same ads that DSA has, replicate it that way, and control the bids?
Yeah, obviously you definitely can. The reason why we switched over to DSA is because we had that really well-performing campaign on search. When I ran DSA, we found like 4 or 5 other variants that we never thought of, didn't rank for because broad match modified is not a thing anymore. So you have to use phrase or exact. And so we found like, oh man, I would have never thought about this thing when they say like, but no attorney, like, oh, that was actually relevant to us. And we kept that one. So we didn't know what we didn't know. And what you're going to have to say is, I already know everything that DSA is going to give me perfectly. And I already know every single one of those keywords. Then search is going to definitely outperform DSA. But if you don't know that, run DSA.
We've got 2 minutes left. So whoever drops in their question, Stonecraft, could you make a playlist for GHL topics? I don't think everyone's set up. Yeah, we probably won't, to be honest. And hopefully this doesn't sound petulant, and please forgive me if it does. GHL ends up not being a great lead acquisition strategy for us because everybody in GHL is an agency and they all want to run their own ads. And so I love supporting GHL, and I do like GHL white label clients. So we'll make a lot of white label stuff, obviously, but in terms of the GHL direct, it's not the best. It's not the best lead acquisition strategy for us. Hopefully that makes sense, and I haven't just offended you. With the exception of clients that want us to take over like their entire slate, but servicing the individual accounts ends up being tough. Was that unfair, John? Did I say something that's offensive?
No, I mean it's we're investing a lot of time and money into our YouTube channel, and I think that there's not everything that we can solve just because it ends up sending our company in a different direction than what we are really trying to work for years to make it do. And so that's just we can hop on lives and we'll deliver, kind of go high level things as much as possible, but we don't necessarily want to become the brandable company of that. So
yeah,
hopefully
and Stonecraft said, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm meeting with Mike on Tuesday. That's awesome. So you'll be a white label client. That's great.
Awesome.
All right. Last question from Dave. What landing page platform do you recommend the most? I use Unbounce.
I don't like landing pages at all. The reason is if you look at the data that we've been able to run with, and we spend about $1.4 million a month in Google Ads, so it's a lot of data. It's there's 2.3 to 2.6 pages before a conversion takes place. So landing pages, especially ones that are hidden from the sitemap, like squeeze pages, again, if you are unless you know that you've nailed every single objection and you have a chat on that page to gather any other objections, it's not going to work better. Let's put it this way. I've never had a landing page work better than the entire website. Never had it. I've always built a landing page inside of the website in the main navigation, but it's inside of whatever that website was built in. That could be WordPress. So building the landing page and the content on the landing page inside of the website will almost always, and I've never had it not. So that's why I guess in my experience, every single time I built a landing page inside of the confines of the website using the existing website builder itself has always outperformed a third-party landing page builder. So that's just my narrative, just because they want to know it's real. Homepage, where are you? Contact us. How long have you been in business? Do you have shipping policy, return policy for like e-commerce? All of those, do you have any case studies or any success stories? All of those things have to be on a landing page, and by the time you're done doing that, you have enough content for an entire website anyway.
John goes live every Monday at 9:30 a.m. Arizona time. We'll try to go live Fridays depending on our schedules. I'm the co-host of Perpetual Traffic, which has consistently been one of the top 10 marketing podcasts in the world. So if you want to check out the Perpetual Traffic podcast, I will drop in a link here. I'm the new co-host, by the way. And if y'all wouldn't mind, if anybody wants to do us a favor, if you wouldn't mind giving Perpetual Traffic a good review if you like what you're hearing. Because we've had some bad reviews prior to my introduction, and I wouldn't. They bug me. And that's it. Appreciate everybody who showed up and watched. John, thanks for all your insight and wisdom, and I'll see you in 4 minutes.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.